Today we walk through the events, the scale, and the consequences of one of the largest aerial attacks on Kyiv since the full-scale war began, a barrage that brought fire to the very heart of Ukraine's government and to ordinary neighborhoods alike. Officials report that overnight a massive wave of drones and long-range weapons was launched against multiple Ukrainian cities, with Kyiv among the main targets. Ukrainian authorities described the assault as a record-breaking aerial barrage, with hundreds of unmanned aerial vehicles paired with missiles and strikes that lasted several hours and arrived in successive waves. The attack's most visible outcome was a fire at the Cabinet of Ministers building in central Kyiv, the first time a key government building in the capital has been struck and visibly set ablaze in this conflict. Alongside that symbolic hit, several residential high-rises were damaged or partially destroyed, and local emergency services responded to fires and collapses in multiple neighborhoods. Initial casualty reports from city officials said civilians were killed and dozens were wounded. Exactly where the drones took off from and how each flight path unfolded is not yet fully public. Such details take time to verify and often rely on military radar logs and intelligence disclosures. What is clear from open reporting and official statements is the attack used large numbers of relatively small, commercially or militarily produced UVs. Many observers and images identified variants similar to widely used attack drones, combined with missiles to overwhelm defensive networks. That pattern of combining cheap, expendable drones with higher-value missiles is intended to saturate air defenses so some weapons can reach critical targets. Timing and sequence. Reports say the barrage began in the early hours and continued into the morning, arriving in waves designed to keep defenders engaged and to exploit any gaps created by intercepts. In a typical saturation attack, an initial wave forces defenders to expend interceptors and munitions. Follow-on waves then target the gaps or secondary objectives. That tactical logic appears to have been at work here. While analysts will later reconstruct exact takeoff windows and flight corridors using radar tracks and debris analysis, the public record so far emphasizes a sustained, multi-hour assault rather than a single, isolated strike. On damage and human cost, local officials and reporting indicate a mix of structural damage to government and residential buildings, fires that required large emergency responses, and civilian casualties including women, elderly people, and at least one infant reported among the dead in early tallies. Hospital admissions and rescue operations were ongoing as crews searched damaged buildings for survivors. As these numbers are updated rapidly, journalists cite varying casualty totals. The safest public formulation is to say multiple civilians were killed and dozens injured, while rescue operations continued through the morning. How is this planned? Open-source evidence and military analysts point to a highly coordinated operation, centralized tasking, synchronized launch windows, and mixed arsenals that include reusable and expendable drone types. Such operations require logistics, launch platforms, pre-programmed flight routes, intelligence on air defense dispositions, and command and control to time the waves. Whether the planning was done to send a political message, to show the ability to strike central government targets, or purely to inflict infrastructure damage, the operational effect was the same: to stress Ukrainian air defenses and civic resilience. This is a synthesis of what officials and analysts reported about the attack pattern. Detailed attribution of planning is the subject of ongoing investigation. What did Ukraine do in defense, and was there a counterstrike? Ukrainian air defense units and civil defense services were active during and after the barrage. Officials repeatedly credited interceptors and point defense systems with downing large numbers of incoming drones and missiles, and with limiting an even higher toll. At the time of the early reports, there were calls from Kyiv's leadership for stronger Western air defense capabilities and for additional military aid to prevent similar mass attacks in the future. As for immediate retaliatory strikes, public reporting in the first hours did not confirm a single large, symmetrical return strike. Responses can include targeted military operations, strikes on launch sites, or diplomatic and economic measures, and those often follow after intelligence assessments and coalition consultations. Finally, what does this mean going forward? A successful saturation attack on a capital's government quarter is both a tactical demonstration and a strategic signal. It increases pressure on civilian life, it forces shifting defense priorities, and it can reshape political conversations about the level and types of support Ukraine needs. It also underlines the evolving nature of modern warfare, where relatively low-cost drones can be combined with traditional long-range weapons to create outsized effects. For journalists and content creators, the facts to track next are verified casualty totals, official statements about intercepted weapon counts, any intelligence releases that identify launch points, and clear evidence of follow-on military or diplomatic measures.